Hey. Yeah. It's so great to be in Anarchapulco again. I was here last year. It was a fabulous event, and this year it's gorgeous. It's an amazing time. Since Liberland started, it's a wonderful journey for me personally, and of course for everybody around me. Sometimes even too exciting. And the journey. Can I have the presentation? The journey started like this. With a couple of friends, and of course with now my first lady that is back in the door there. We just stick a flag in the middle of territory which was not claimed by anybody for more than 25 years. We went there like this, nothing big, just the three people and the small idea of a big freedom for the new citizens of a new state. It was enormous. We just three people, nothing more than the libertarian beliefs and media coverage. A very small media coverage, actually, which was done by this man that was there with us. He just published the first article. And then it was an enormous storm. There was not a single media that wouldn't put up something about Liberland. Maybe just Forbes magazine, that's the only one that I know about that didn't write about anything about Liberland. And we founded it purposefully on the 13th of April, which was a birthday of Thomas Jefferson, 272nd birthday of Thomas Jefferson. And we did that purposefully to invoke the spirit of American Revolution, which many of the Americans can relate to that, because as you probably noticed, the level of freedom in America is diminishing every single year. And they were kind of smiling because the only building we had on the territory was this building. And they said, this is their parliament. Take a look how shitty their parliament looks like. They're even unable to put together their only building there. And of course, they were making fun. And we said, yes, this is going to be very likely the seat of the government. We want this seat to be this small as long as possible. Basically, to have somebody like a chief of police, I will talk about it a little bit later, have somebody who will take care of justice, and then somebody who will take care of diplomacy, probably in that window. And then something like a small assembly of people that will do something like a parliament does. And yes, I think it's achievable. I think you can run a state working just with these three basic institutions. It's actually very much feasible. I don't think that you need a state larger than 2 or 3% of GDP. That anything above that is more harming the citizens than it would be helping them. So, Liberland is a beautiful piece of land. It was a kind of gift from heavens for Liberlandians. It was one of the very few pieces left on earth which were unclaimed by any country. We've got nice sandy beaches, we've got Danube River, and this nice island, Liberty Island. And we've got a great advantage that this Danube River actually is an international waterway, which gives us free access to Liberland anywhere around the world. We are basically having an ocean next to our land. And the idea behind Liberland, of course, is a simple one. And many of you probably heard about this quote. I heard it some 5 months ago, and I'm still amazed by it, how well it describes what Liberland is about. You cannot change things by fighting the existing reality. To bring a change, just build up something new, and it will take away the obsolete history. And this is exactly what we are doing. We don't care what the other states are doing. We are just building the state as we see it fit. And of course, in order to have a state, there are some criteria. The Montevideo Convention has set up 4 criteria for the land, for the state. It must have a population, it must have a defined territory, it must have a government and a capacity to enter into relations with other nations. And let me go over how successfully we have complied with these terms. And by the way, the Chicago Journal of International Law argued that we have fulfilled these criteria. Now we have 438,000 people registered on our website, interested in the citizenship. And I know many of you actually in this room have applied for citizenship. So we have filtered that out to something like 120 people that are serious. They filled in most of the information. And it's amazing that around 78,000 people not only applied for citizenship, but they also want to start doing business there. We've got land, it's well defined. We are the only country that has a land registry for this piece of land. In order to avoid any border disputes with either Croatia or Serbia, we have actually given both countries a half meter extra. And we can see it on our registry. It's cadastral.ll.land. The preciseness of our borders is actually 10 centimeters. And we had gotten a great gift from Serbia, which only 11 days after we started the country publicly stated they don't mind creation of Liberland. It's not formed on their territory, despite Croatia actually claiming this piece of land is Serbia, and the whole world kind of complying with that. So we were sort of given this piece of land by Serbia, which stopped claiming it some 25 years ago. And we've got a government, and I'm honored to have a great gentleman on board with me. First one is Thomas Walls, our Minister of Interior. He's a very skilled diplomat. He was working for American diplomacy for a number of years with the embassy in Berlin. He was the one who was organizing the negotiation for Daytona agreements, so even he has got experience locally. We've got Dennis Pierce, who was working for a number of governments. Now he is organizing our Ministry of Interior. So if you want to, help, for example, with that, now he's working on our ship registry, on our car registry. We've got Ministry of Finance, Jan Pulkrabek, the very skilled individual, the only other Czech guy in the government, who is doing tremendous work. He is the one organizing our company registry right now. And then we've got a chairman of Liberland Economic Council, Alexander Borodich, a very famous venture capitalist who decided he will help us to get the first businesses in Liberland on a little bit larger scale. So he's launching a big competition for startups in a couple months from now. And just to give you a little bit of idea, we just had a financial report from the finance ministry coming, so that institution is functional. And I was happy to find out that we had a 10% budget surplus, which compared to other countries, I think is a kind of a success. I'm also happy to announce that more than around 40% of our income came in bitcoins, which is also, I think, a great result for a new country. And of course, we are the first country to accept Bitcoin. Thank you. And we've got now 86 representatives all around the world, which makes us, for example, more represented than countries like Slovakia. And I think it's a good result. It's not even 2 years since Liberland started. And many people actually tell me, you started Liberland 10 years or 8 years ago. No, we started it some year and couple of months, year and 10 months ago. And you can see the green places, the greener ones, those are the places which we basically have a representative office less than 3 months. So we keep on expanding and we keep on picking up the good people. Let me just give you a small idea, and you can read much more about it in our brochure, which is there in that stand right behind the corner. For example, 2 representatives. A lady from Qatar, she was the entrepreneur of the year. She's got a great portfolio of businesses in Qatar. She's very helpful with us on board, expanding our diplomatic networks in Middle East. For example, in Bahamas and Bermuda, we've got Richard Holson, who is having one of the biggest insurance companies, and he's got also tremendous amount of contacts in the region. And you can imagine we've got 84 more representatives all around the world like this. And we've got a big pool of people that we can choose from. It's a great thing to actually have almost 500,000 people on board when you are building organization. And our representative offices are usually not just a people. There are also buildings behind where you can go and do stuff. This is our representative office in Prague, so if you ever come to Prague, feel free to visit. We are partially running other agendas from there for now. It's a former representative office or former residence of Danish ambassador. So I'm happy that they moved out and they let us use it. It still has a diplomatic status. This is our representative office in Berlin. By the way, Vit Jedlicka is the company that is helping us to keep it. And they are the great guys that you have to pay only 0.5% fee if you want to have your Bitcoin-backed credit card. So a little bit of advertisement for them. But it's also one of the best co-working spaces in Berlin. And we've got lots of political parties on board because our representatives are working hard to get the country recognized. So there is more than 15 political parties that call directly for recognition of Liberland. And one of them is also the biggest opposition party in Turkey, which was very much amazing when I found out that they decided to support us. So whenever they come in power, Liberland is basically recognized by Turkey. And it's not only that. The diplomats are also coming to our events, which is great. I think last time we had diplomats from 4 different countries. We had diplomats from Belize, from Syria, from Oman, coming to the diplomatic events in Prague. And we've got support from people, of course, like Gary Johnson. He said that recognizing Liberland would be the first thing that he would do when he becomes president. That didn't materialize, but still it was a great support at the time. We've got good ties to new Trump administration. You can read about it in Washington Post. So we are utilizing these connections. We've got support, or at least an endorsement, from Prince Hans Adam of Liechtenstein. I just came from Liechtenstein, and I met also with Prime Minister, with Foreign Minister. We've got even support of people like Syed Kamal, a chairman of the whole group in European Parliament, and some 15 more members of European Parliament. So it's a pretty good support. Hey, this is for the serious stuff. But I think this is actually explaining much better what you need to have a country. And a lot of people are asking me what it takes to build up a country. So you can't be a real country unless you have a beer and an airline. It helps if you have some kind of football team or some nuclear weapons, but at the very least you need to have a beer. And yes, it was the first Liberland beer. All right, we've got another one now, and it's spreading fast like hell. I'm receiving pictures from different pubs in Czech Republic that it's now being on the menu. It's gonna be big in Serbia and in Croatia. We are getting new breweries to actually brew it in both countries, and we want to get this global. And I can tell you guys, this is one of the best beers you will ever taste. It received 10-star rating from the rating websites for beer, and it is really good stuff. And of course, we have an airline. It was started only 2 weeks after the country was started. It was pretty amazing. Okay, now we've got Cyrus, a small plane, but we are also getting a couple of jet planes pretty soon. So that's gonna be interesting. And of course, it's not a company like usual. It is a kind of people are getting together and putting their planes together and branding them. But it's great fun, and I really like the way this is being created. And we also have an airline, not only airline, but also a football team. Of course, you can join our football team. It has its own website. I think there are dozens of other sport teams that you can join. But not only that, not only sport and beer, we also have enormous support from lawyers. For example, we've got 1,200 lawyers that applied for citizenship. We've got 1,300 architects that applied for citizenship. And some of the names were amazing. Maybe you heard about Zaha Hadid. She was probably the most famous female architect, and her CEO is a great help from the early days of Liberland. He organized architectural competition so people can visualize what could be built in this place. And there are amazing things that came out of this competition. People being more pragmatic, more eco-friendly, more open. And Patrick Schumacher is a great support because he is into free market urban planning. He's got his own concept, how market can be used to avoid state in the planning of the cities. And I think that's a very good approach that we need, and we need specialists because that is a complicated topic and it needs some thought before we run the whole show. That was, for example, designed from Poland. That was designed from Argentina. A professor of Harvard University made a team of 5 people. They've designed a very nice city for 120,000 people, kind of an air place. And there were other designs. This was, an idea to turning the whole place into a big golf course with a lot of nature, which I think would be also very popular with some people and could bring a lot of business to Liberland, with having basically companies on these towers and having these towers connected with some sort of train, being a little bit more futuristic, and also with these kind of houseboats on the river, so they can go up and down whenever the flooding comes, which, by the way, inspired us greatly. And so, we've got 2 issues right now. We've got flooding, which comes, sometimes it comes every year, sometimes it takes 3 years, and 2/3 of Liberland go underwater. That is one of a problem. Well, of course, it's not an issue if you just build a wall around the island, and by the way, and the other issue is, of course, Croatians, and that we are solving many different ways, legally, and also through different settlement efforts. But the truth is that at this stage we are enjoying the status quo which has been built, and I sometimes make jokes about it, that we will build a wall, that we will let Croatians build a wall and pay for it. But this is, I think I would win some points with Trump for that statement. But this is exactly what is happening, right? By the fact that they have protected this territory, or maybe even overprotected, they actually created and defined our borders. And they're doing it quite strictly now. I've got a bigger announcement at the end of this presentation, but let me talk about the ways we are actually going around it. And I can tell you that with support of the Bitcoin.com, we got one of the first settlement units that will be permanently stationed in Liberland starting 13th of April. And that's it. 12 people will be living inside of Liberland on the international waterway. It will be also used for example, weddings and other social events. So there will be a first permanent unit inside of Liberlandian waters. We also are working on a concept of small houseboats with Zahari, so people can come and enjoy living on houseboat inside of Liberland. And we have a bigger plan for the end of this year to actually put there a bigger ship which can have first Liberland companies. It could have a restaurant there, small spa. So that project is already on their way, and I'm happy that there are private entrepreneurs taking a lead in that effort. And there not only, of course, there are physical things going on in the territory of Liberland, but there are things like domain registry, company registry. We've got our own market where you can buy stuff for Bitcoin. We've got our e-residency app, so people can also become e-residents, and that is going to be much more expanded. By the way, who does use Estonian e-residency? We've got a couple of people here. And we want to have a similar product, but based on using blockchain technologies, and have that really kind of up-to-date, state-of-art technology. So people can not only have their identity with Liberland and their card, but they can also socialize and do business anywhere they are around the world using Bitcoins and other cryptocurrencies. So there are lots of things that need to be built on the level of institutions, and these things are all important, and they create a state. And so we've got this long-term plan from the, like, this was created right after Liberland was created, and I'm still sticking to this plan. This year we would like to get at least partial territorial control, have a stable government, infrastructure development. Next year we'd like to consolidate the number of citizens, have a stable way how new citizens are created basically, and have an investment expansion. And by 2020, so only 3 years from now, we would like to have at least a partial international recognition for the country. And I think it's achievable in this time frame. And have around 150 embassies or representative offices, and have already a 25 million budget surplus. And I think it's also achievable with the way that, for example, finances for Liberland are going. And of course, the ultimate goal is to build up another Hong Kong, is to build up another Monaco, but you know, the best place, not just some tax paradise, but the best tax paradise. And not just tax paradise, but also a paradise, you know, for everybody to enjoy, not just for companies, but for private individuals as well. I've got a great news for you. This flag was put in Liberland a week ago without any problem. The people stayed there, they occupied the territory for a number of days, and there was no problem. And maybe that was the result of the fact that my speech was delivered to Croatian Parliament, and that my brochures and my speech was delivered to all members, important members of Croatian government, and that things are moving forward. I've got also great news that we've got an alliance with one of the candidates in Serbian parliamentary election, presidential election, which will, I think, improve the name of Liberland a lot in Serbia. So we are moving things forward, and of course it takes great effort, it takes a lot of resources to be well recognized in those two countries, but that's one of the things that we are focusing on right now. So who we are looking for? You know, we are looking for more e-residents, for diplomats, hackers, entrepreneurs, and I know, you know, this is exactly the group of people that is here. We are looking for more lawyers, and especially we are also looking for more tourists. So if you feel like visiting Europe someday, don't only visit our representative office in Prague, but please feel free and visit Liberland as well. And there will be two bigger events this year that I would like to pitch. One of them is a celebration on 13th of April, the celebration of 2nd year of Liberland's foundation. And that will be, actually we'll take a boat from Hungary and we will sail down to Liberland. That will be a 3-day event with a number of nice lectures and social gathering. And the other even bigger thing is that we got an offer to organize a world championship in jet surfing in Liberland. So it will be, I think, a nice event, very typical for Liberland because it's on water. It's a very nice modern sport that you can guys enjoy and try. So that will be another bigger event in summer. There will be much more, but I have just chosen these two. So thank you very much for listening to me. I hope you will, you know, somehow see you in Liberland, and great to be here.
And Vit, we have some time if you'd like to take some questions.
One more thing, that's one thing, of questions are one thing. But the other thing, I would like to show my appreciation for the great support that Roger Ver has put into Liberland, because without him probably we wouldn't be where we are right now. So Roger, if you can come here, and I would love to give you, not only your citizenship certificate.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And also your passport. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, you know, if you have any questions regarding Liberland, feel free to ask me. I think we've got a couple more minutes, 5, 6, or so, something like that. Please.
Yeah, we have 10 minutes left.
10 minutes, that's great. And I've been thinking about installing some quota, but in our constitution we have direct ban on it. So no, I'm joking. You know, it's in terms of application, I think it's 80-20, but it still means we've got 60,000 women who applied, which is not bad. And in the government right now, we don't have any female, but in the representative corps there are a couple females. So it's getting better. So, you know, I would like to tell one more thing, and it's not only, of course, Roger, that has been great support to Liberland, and I don't know if Jana, my girlfriend, is here, but it was also great support from her for the whole year. She is right there with my baby David. If you could give her a hand. It was, of course, I've been home for just a couple of weeks last year trying to, you know, visit all the good occasions to promote Liberland, so of course it was hard to take care. But by the way, you know, our son David is great. I think he will be a great Liberlander at some stage, so you can also meet him later on. We are here for the rest of the Anarchapulco. Okay?
So I've been looking where to find a second passport, you know, what country, and I'm wondering now, how about Liberland, and what would it take to get a passport to Liberland, and how much would it be?
Well, we actually give citizenship to anybody who helps, and we said considerably, to Liberland, and we also kind of have a different benchmark for that, but in general terms, we said it will take 5,000 merits to collect, and merits are internal benchmark, and it says how much you have contributed to Liberland. It is now tied to US dollar. Not many people will like that, but it's very much obvious how much energy or how much donations people have put together. So we can either put up to $5,000, which is moving Liberland forward, or you can spend, let's say, 5-6 months helping Liberland a part-time, and you will also get citizenship if you have some kind of qualification that can help us forward. And I can tell you there is a lot of intellectual work to be made. It's kind of funny, I was in libertarian environment for more than 10 years. I've started Libertarian Political Party, I've read most of the book from Mises, Rothbard, I did a lot of research on different topics, but now we are actually having an opportunity to build libertarian state from scratch, and there are still so many questions that need to be answered that not even the academia has answered. And there are so many practical questions that need to be answered if you are building a libertarian state. And I would like to solve these questions, and I would like to solve them also for the sake of not only Liberland. I would like to open the doors for people that want to build new countries. And this is what Liberland is about. We are breaking the paradigm in the way new countries are created. There was nobody who did it the way we did. There are some close examples, you know. A lot of people from Israel feel very happy about what we are doing in Liberland because they feel some kind of attachment. There are other different nationalities that have similar feeling like Liberlanders, but still it's the first time that country has been created in this way, and I hope it's the first one of many. So we'd like to write a nice handbook, open up the doors for other serious ventures in starting new countries.
I'm a huge fan of your project. I was one of the people that have signed up on your website. So, and I've also moved to New Hampshire as a part of the Free Stage Project. So I feel like I'm a part of two type of these movements. But I have a question. Will the government have the power to tax? Can the Liberland government be funded fully through voluntary means by issuing passports or through voluntary donations or some other type of voluntary interaction? Or will there eventually be some sort of taxation structure in place?
Well, for now, there are only voluntary taxes, and the Constitution is quite strict about that. There is some option for land tax in the future, which have to go through a referendum, which is pretty dense, and so the voluntary taxation system is there, and it's going to be there. We also want to prove that the concept works. By the way, we are not the first ones to come up with that idea. The founding fathers of the United States in the Articles of Confederation came up with the same concept. So I think it's just now it's time for it. You can have a very cost-effective government. We want to experiment with new things, for example, like Uberification of police, to even cut the cost of police. So maybe you will find Uber policemen in New York pretty soon, because we, of course, are not doing these concepts just for Liberland, but we want to expand on it. So I hope that voluntary tax system will stay there at least for a couple hundreds of years. Then somebody will have to find a new Liberland.
Next question.
Yes.
Do you have any permaculture designers on your team?
Pardon?
Do you have any permaculture designers on your team at Liberland?
Permaculture? No. I don't think that somebody. And well, I guess there are lots of them in the database, but nobody who would come forward and would start doing something about it. And by the way, there is a small village we formed next to Liberland on Serbian side of the river, which just people are kind of moving there from around the world, and buying houses. It's not too many now, but it's growing. So there is a small Liberland on the other side of the river, and you can test your permaculture practice. And I would like to support that idea. Somehow I will start promoting it at the beginning of spring, so people who can again, get there and show the seriousness of the fact that there are thousands and thousands of people who are serious about living in Liberland. It's not just internet project. It is a serious thing. All right.
We have 5 minutes left here.
All right.
I think I heard you mention a Liberland boat registry and car registry. I was just wondering if there's going to be a bicycle registry, and if participation is voluntary.
Well, these registries are there to be able to communicate with the outside world. Of course, there will be no bike registry, but if you want to have a Liberland plate and you want to drive it in Europe, you will have to go through the registration process. And I hope that my next car will have Liberland plates, and that and we found a way how to do these things legally and in a proper way, and that there will be hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of ships flying under Liberland flag as well in couple of months. So these things are underway. They need a serious approach. It's not that easy that you just put up an online form, I'm registering ships. We want to keep the prestige of the registry high. We have to make sure that those boats are not used for too much stuff that the outside world doesn't like. And the same thing applies for company registry. The plan is to have it fully functional by summer, so people can actually go and register companies. There are already companies registered. We said that you don't need to register a company in order to run a company in Liberland, but not many people understood it. So then we started to give companies papers, and I can tell you that now with Liberland company you can open a bank account in Liechtenstein. There are banks that already do open up bank accounts for Liberland companies. So of course many of them are using Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, but you can also be integrated into the banking system through Liberland friendly banks in one of the freest countries in the world regarding banking.
Over here. About 3 minutes left.
With many nationalities coming together, how is the language issue going to be solved? Are people just going to figure that out? And is there going to be an official language?
It's very easy. There is official language. It's Liberlandish. That's straightforward. I think most of us do speak it already, and you've been listening to it for more than 35 minutes now. Yes, please.
Right here? To your right? Right here.
Yeah, okay.
So how about a Liberland space administration? Could you, not we, because I'm not part of it, but could you maybe contact some of the great entrepreneurs in the aerospace field and invite them to have maybe some kind of...
Well, of course we would
location in Liberland?
Yeah, of course we would love to attract big companies and companies, for example, like Apple, that were driven out of the Ireland because they didn't pay enough tax. The EU doesn't think they paid enough. They paid enough tax, so they had to pay an extra fine of a couple of billion. We would like to attract companies like that. We would like to invite high-tech industry. We would like to especially invite the online business that can very easily relocate itself, including the gambling industry. So we are seriously into building up a good framework for our company registry to allow all of these things. And regarding your question about the space agency, there is already one. I think it was also created in the first week of Liberland. Liberland Space Agency is on Facebook, and I think it has a website as well. So I'm not involved in that, and you will not see any state funding into that. Actually, our state budget is very much limited to supporting just the three things. Again, diplomacy, security, and justice.
That's all the time we have. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Vit Jedlicka.
Thank you again, guys.
In a world where Antifa riots in the city streets, cops rage out of control, and the leader of the free world is a fat-ass casino owner, one event stands alone to make anarchy great again.
I actually love humanity. That is why I'm an anarchist.
Backwards in the building like we the ceiling, we illin'. No matter who find it appealing, I'm here and I got a feeling that we'll be dealing a lot of pain where the penicillin get drilled in your head. That we are monsters and yeah, we come from the slums, and for months we've been pumped, but for once I am now comfortable. I want to grow, I want some more success, and I want to know that greatness can't be rushed, can't be lost, so face the bus. Feel free to hate on us, we lace them up. Dudes, we done paid them up. Keep snakes away from us and safe from us, you might wanna be. Remember when clowns used to make fun of me and that they wanna be me, see me and they run at me. I'm gonna be the greatest, yeah I wanna be, but I am not the one to be the fakest for the sake of being played. I'm here, like I never left, said to hell. Nah, cause I can't just fail, so just prepare your ears, it'll get for real. From here, we will never take the cell, it's grind time. My mind and my thoughts, my highs and my faults, my wins and my loss. When will I fall off? It's a test for me. You are now listening to Veracity. Yeah.
Fuck the media, fuck the banks, fuck drone strikes, fuck tanks, fuck hunger, fuck war, fuck ignoring of the poor, fuck the left, fuck the right, fuck the government. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.